Alright, guys. So, this is going to be me talking about, like, what I did to completely get out of my depression that I didn't even know I was in. So, I'm just gonna mention just, like, the basic shit. I guess it's not really basic. I'm just gonna mention addictions. Like, specifically, not drug based, it's a different type of addiction, but I guess you can still use it for drug-based addictions such as alcohol and other things. But I know that drugs specifically are harder to quit. But I know there's something that'll more ring true with another type of addiction I want to at least mention. But anyways, what I specifically did. So first we're gonna talk about like mind structure, like mind stability. And what mind stability is, it's being able to, for example, just only care about what you can control in your life that is you. You do not care about what other people think of you. You do not care about any of that stuff unless it's actually a flaw they're pointing out that you actually want to improve yourself. The importance of this is so other people do not control you with their influences. That also means anything you see online, anything that might try to influence you to think a certain way, can have negative impacts on your mental stability. So I'm bringing this up first because, hell, this is going to actually run into the addiction part. This is going to actually explain the addiction part and how important it is. So, I'm going to mention this now. So, addiction. So, where does this come in handy? Well, you have to stop caring more about what these people are thinking about you. So, I'm going to tell you my strategies on how I do that. The idea is they say something and they get in your head. The more you have to acknowledge is you can't let them get into your head. You have to be like, yeah, that's addicting to do, and you get agitated by it, but after you're agitated by it, you just drop it and you move on. The thing about moving on is that it pretty much lets you move on from it. The same thing with relationships. Like, if if something is happening that does not make you happy, you do not go out of your way to try and get that person to do things that make you happy. You try to like communicate it, sure. But that goes both ways. If you're in a relationship with somebody and they're telling you to stop doing things that make you happy, that are healthy and considerably good things to do, then it's not good. So the idea here is insecurities. So I'm going to give an example. So the other person has an insecurity. They want attention from you. They want more attention from you than you can handle actually giving to them. Whenever they see you go and do something healthy, like say go outside and exercise, it might be like, you don't have to do that. You could be here with me and sit down with me and do this with me. The thing is, if you're just doing it for 20, 40 minutes, 1 or 2 hours a day, if you want to do it for that long, it's not really negatively affecting anything. Like 1 or 2 hours is fine. Like I think 1 or 2 hours is fine. It's like a hobby, right? Like somebody sits down and watches TV for like hours, right? And the thing is, like if they wanted to, they could join you and exercise with you if that's their thing. But the idea is not forcing somebody into it. So the whole idea is don't let society get into your head and make you think you have to be a certain way. Because for a fact, we could look at things and we could determine there's a lot of people out there that are just unhealthy. And we can say that, but I'm going to give you an essence. I'm going to give you some essence to how this could help someone get out of depression. So we're going to be going into addiction. Specifically, I'm not going to be going into drug addiction or anything, but I am going to mention another type of addiction that most people probably have crashed into. And it is called the FAP addiction. I'm just gonna say fat because it's a nicer word. So personally for me, I was like, so what if I just stop doing this for like a week and just see what happens? So I stopped doing it for a week. Then I realized I had like a mood shift. I was like happier, and I was like, why am I happier? That so I went longer, and then I was more happy, and then I was like, what? So the idea was when I stopped letting things get into my head, I started being a little bit more calm, a tiny bit happier. Then I decided, hey, I should cut out this bad habit because maybe I was super stressed from all those negative things. So I built a bad habit that's reinforcing that influence that was done to me. So I cut that out completely for like 2 weeks, and I was already feeling the positive of doing that after I was able to get everybody else out of my head. And when I was able to do that, I felt even better, and I was like, what are other things I could do that could make me feel better? And I was like, well, maybe I should try like a diet, right? I was like, maybe I should try a diet. Maybe I'm not getting what I need because the only things I ate was like meat. So I was like, hey, maybe I should flip it. Maybe I should do a low meat diet. So just fish twice a week. Just 2 meals of fish, right? 2 meals of fish a week. So I was able to get all of my things I need, all my dietary needs. So I was able to get all that. And, eggs, milk, that stuff. I was able to get everything I needed in my diet. And I was like, after doing that for like 1 or 2 weeks, I already started feeling better. Just a little bit better. And I was like, hold on. Now I feel better from this thing. And now I feel better from this thing. And I'm like, well, I have an indented chest. And when I was younger, I always felt like very energetic. So I was like, what if my inactivity has caused me to not feel as happy as I was as a kid? And I was like, that's a very, very interesting thing. So then I was like, maybe I should start exercising. Maybe there's a way I could increase my lung capacity and my ability to breathe and my body's ability to get oxygen to my muscles and better efficiency of oxygen in my blood. And I was like, this would help me because I have pectus excavatum indented chest. So I decided to start doing that. And I have been doing more than genuine people. I'm like an all or nothing. So when I do one thing and I see positives, I keep doing the positive sort of thing. So I want to build it into my habit. So 4 out of the 5 days this week so far, I have been running. Or like 3 days I have been running. The first day I didn't run too much. The second day I ran 20 minutes and I struggled to. The third day I ran 20 minutes and it was easier. I also swam these days. I did a bike machine for at least 10 miles. And I was like, hey, that's pretty nice. And that was on a day I was sore. But during the time when I woke up, I realized something. I was like, I'm super energetic. I feel great. That's what I was like. I feel noticeably better. I'm like, dude, this is only 2 weeks in. I can't imagine what it'll be like 6 months in. So if you didn't know, the main thing, back to the addiction, the fapping, sure, it's a healthy thing to do once a week. I'm not touching it for a long time. It's dependent on what you want to do. I'm not touching it for a long time because it's all about dopamine. All these things that I'm doing can help increase your dopamine levels. Specifically, exercising is good for lowering your stress levels. So it's a de-stressor. Exercising is a de-stressor. So it's actually a really good habit to build, to do at least 20 minutes to an hour every day. Say if you can run, then run. If you can walk fast, then walk fast. If you can only walk, then walk. The idea is do things at your own pace. Don't try to push yourself too hard. And then you'll be able to build into it and you'll actually turn out to like it. Another thing, the school system sucks ass and they don't teach you this shit, right? So if any of you want me to go into this specifics about like diet. Like I'm not good at cooking, so I could tell you the basic shit that I personally buy that has helped me with my diet that I've been doing. If you want me to go into diets, uh, specifically for the exercise, I can tell you what I'm exercising, specifically what I'm focusing on. I'd say push-ups, push-ups and running cardio. I'm doing a lot of cardio. I think cardio is way more important. I think endurance is way more important than strength. Strength is only good if you need to lift heavy things. That's my opinion. Lift heavy thing, feel cool, right? It feel cool, but trust me, having more energy to be able to run further, you'll also feel cool from that too. It's just a different feeling because when you lift, you have pain for when you lift, but you don't have a consistent pain from when you're running because the idea is you adjust to it, you get used to it. It actually from the cardio when I jumped into a cold pool, it was easier to adjust to the coldness because I just had to do like one breath and I was like already adjusted to it. So it actually decreases like cold pain too. So that's a cool other factoid. But yeah, I'm trying to get my condition to where I am the happiest that I could ever be, and the most energetic I could ever be, these problems I can ever be. And let me tell you, if you are in fact in depression and you have all these addictions and bad habits, and you start feeling better, the easier it gets. Like when you do the diet at first, you'll be like, "Oh, this is stupid." But after like 4 or 5 days, when you start to feel just a tiny bit better, you're like, "Whoa!" You're like, "Whoa, hold up!" And that's when it gets easy. That's when you're like, "I should keep doing this." Like this is kind of like it becomes almost like an addiction of itself. But I don't eat healthy all the time. Like I eat unhealthy things here and there. Of course, moderation, right? Like definite moderation. Uh, yeah, thing about fish, it can boost dopamine. So back to the first point, the masturbation. Uh, yeah, the hard part is just not doing it for a little while. But I feel like I should have started exercising when I started doing that. Because I feel like the exercising would have helped deter that completely. I've heard it's different based on the gender, but if you're a dude, if you exercise, holy man, holy, if you exercise, it just becomes 20 times easier because if you were doing it because it was a de-stressor and you're addicted to the de-stress aspect, dude, it's crazy. Like it's crazy. Like the exercise becomes your new thing and then the exercise is actually healthy for you. And exercise doesn't make your dopamine hit like a spike, so it doesn't lower your dopamine like as the other thing would. So it's actually healthier and actually better for your mind. There's other things that I will say. I'll recommend this if if you get like a trainer or a proper doctor. I have been doing something that is called holding breath training. Now, the holding breath training is a very interesting thing. I'm not too sure on the validity of it, but it said it can regenerate like brain tissue. So I don't know if that's going to help me. I don't know if my brain tissue had issues or anything. But hey, there's that too. Uh, but yeah, with breath holding, be very careful with it. Like I do it when standing. You can hold your breath longer when you lay down. But I'd say when standing, when you're starting, 20 seconds. 20 seconds. It also depends on the person. Could be even less. But I just did that a little bit, and I think I felt like a difference. I most definitely felt a difference from it. But I'm gonna like I'd recommend doing it once a week. I'm gonna do it like every other day to start out, and then just go down to once a week because I think I think it's something that could deteriorate over time, but I don't think it's something that you need to worry about like constantly. Same thing for cardio. You don't have to do it every day, but if you use it as a de-stressor, then you can do it every day. There's advantages to doing that, right? The idea is you don't want to push yourself every day. That's where rest periods come in. So yeah, that's all I wanted to mention. I feel great. So if anybody is like in a rut and they want to get out of their pit, these are the things that you have to focus on. Take advantage of reading what is on the internet and take advantage of your own perspective. Do not follow what everybody else says because everybody else may in fact be miserable. And if they're miserable, they don't know what they're talking about, man. But yeah, most people say depression comes back. I think that is something to look into. I don't know if it's valid or not. Because the thing is, I feel depression happens from inactivity. And when you're inactive, you're less likely to be active. It's the idea of self-happiness. I feel depression is being caused because people aren't happy specifically with things they cannot control. And I believe self-happiness through self-discipline, diet, treating yourself right, exercising. I feel all of this together has a possibility on actually making depression less likely to occur again. Now, I would say it does occur again if you falter in any of these three. Like if you overly rely on a relationship for your source of happiness and you let someone change. And then that's the thing. You let someone change certain things and you start feeling worse about yourself. And then maybe like you change one thing, you're like, "Oh, I need de-stress," and you relapse with your addictions. And then when those addictions occur, you're like, "Damn." And so you go out to exercise because you're like, "Oh, I just want to exercise it. It's nice." And then that person does that thing again. And then you stop exercising. Then you just stop treating yourself right. And then it all collapses. Then you just reach depression. That's what I think is what happens. Now, I do think it happens in every case. I do think depression isn't just caused by what is ourselves, it's also caused by what is around us. But I do believe there are ways that we can combat it with self discipline, self conditioning, of being able to understand what we believe in and keep it consistent. Setting firm boundaries, rock hard, solid boundaries are the most important thing. Don't let somebody ever determine who you are or what to do. And exercise, when I say this, when you feel better and you're happy, you'll stop doing things like playing video games. That's another addiction, actually. And here's the thing, if you're burnt out of video games, this is your best opportunity because your addiction got to a point to where it doesn't even give you anything out of it. You're able to like just stop playing video games and do everything at the same time. And that's actually like the grandiose is when your addiction gets to a point, like with video games for specific, you get so burnt out of it and so bored of it that it's like not even an addiction anymore, and you could just cut it out super easily once you find something else to do. So exercise is a good filler. If you're bored and you don't know what to do and you have some time, like 20 minutes to an hour, you can go and do something. You can go outside, you can run, you can exercise. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Just having something to do changes it all. Alright, that's it. You guys want me to go into the in-depth for the specific parts? And go ahead. But the reason why I just did flow of mind here is because you also gotta understand, if someone ever looks at you and sees you exercising, you say anything, or take it negatively, or say that you're crazy for doing it, understand one thing. The real crazy person is the person that doesn't understand the positive benefits of everything you're doing. That is what it is. I hope anybody that is in depression or just grows so accustomed to it they don't even know they're in it, once you realize that you're accustomed to it and you don't let things get to you, so this is like for long-term depression people. If you're accustomed to it and you don't let anything get to you at that point, you're like in the best position because you have all that training and you're able to, if you're able to get out of that addiction rut, holy shit, man. You can ascend pretty much in happiness because it's not like you feel like amazing, right? It's like you feel okay, right? And that's the thing. When you feel okay, right? That's your new average. So at first you feel amazing, and then it becomes your average. So you feel okay. So it keeps kind of rising. So if your okay becomes the best, you always feel decent, right? That means you're that far away from depression. To me, it's like a goalpost. Like you're not trying to achieve the high dopamines. You're setting a goalpost to have an average dopamine level. And when you get that average dopamine level to a point where it's really far from the lowest, then you're further from depression. That means that means you'd have to fuck up more to get back into depression. Alright, that's it. See you guys. Hope you guys good shit.